Howdy, howdy, gamers and pirates. Just wanted to do a couple more things with my dragons today. Honestly, I wanted to see how many I could do uh, before my fleet dies. Because I basically could do one of them with 6 minutes pair. What's going on? Come on. And you gotta love whenever they do this. Okay, well, I have to refresh that thing, but oh well. I know one of my, doing 117, my dragons can withstand the battle. Uh, the lowest amount of repair time I had to each dragon is 6 minutes. So theoretically, I do quite a bit of them. So I wanted to see how many 117s I can do, and all that good stuff. So I also want to go, ahead and describe, kind of say why I choose what I choose. So I don't really explain much. I just do this and this, and I haven't really did a compilation of all my explaining. So I thought it would be a good idea to explain why I choose this, why I choose this. So let's go with the Zelos first, because a lot of people don't use the Zelos, and with the dragons, and I can understand why. Uh, because they're being phased out of doing these targets. And I agree they should be phased out. They will be phased out eventually, hopefully, because relying on the dragons, relying on the Zeloses, the double Zelos was, just a workaround. And it was a terrible, terrible thing that we did, with the targets. It was a great thing that we did, doing the 115, doing the 111s, doing all those for free was stupendous. But honestly, I think we got a little bit greedy here, and we relied on the double Zelos method way too much. And the reason why, and then of course, us relying too much on them, we are hit with the FM that's changing now, and everyone's getting, there's a lot of backlash on these changes. And well, honestly, I think these changes are good. We need these changes so that we can figure out, stuff for ourselves. These targets, I really don't think they should not be done for free. No target should honestly be done for free unless you know how to drive it. You know how to do these targets, for good, like the Phoenixes, like the Fangtooth. You could do the 85s, the Navi Relays, for almost free repair. Uh, and if not free repair, easy. Just dock your ships and separate them in free repair. I mean, I've done that several times. With the Fangtooth, it's all about skill driving, and if you have lag. And of course, there's always going to be lag with battle pirates. It's always going to happen. So the same thing goes with this. If you know how to drive, if you know how to do the targets, then it should be free. I mean, granted, you should have take damage in these, but it should be for minimal damage, I would think. And honestly, doing these targets how it is, should be minimal damage. And, I'd take 6 minutes damage for each one. Now, if I wanted to, I could take them back, wait a minute or two, then instant repair. That should be fine. I'm waiting my time, biding my time for this. So, but the phasing out of the Zelos, it's real and it will happen. But there's a little bit of leeway with how you do it. So with the Zelos, I was looking at the types of countermeasures I have. I was looking at the types of damage output and all the stuff that was hitting me in the targets, and I believe the majority of the hard damage one is the mortars. Those mortars are a pain in the ass, and to deal with the mortars, it gets really hard. And that's why I use, use the crew that I use. is to actually combat the mortars the most. That's honestly the most difficult part I have is the mortars. So I tried to, see how I can combat it, and since the mortars are high projectile, from what I see, I think they have some flak evasion, some anti-mortar evasion. I don't know exactly, so tried my best to, get as high projectile speed. And so that's why I have both the subcoaxial propellant and the high velocity rounds on these ships for the Zelos, and that's what I would highly recommend. Now, is this overkill with Gales? It can be. I mean, yes, but it does good, and if you have the right build, the right rank, my rank is legendary, so it does good. Now, doing anti-mortar Ds, it might work. I'm not sure. I always know that Gales are, better because of the, the salvo, the weight, and that stuff. So they're better in the sense than the anti-mortar Ds. So that's why I opted to choose to use my Gales on this one. I find that in the target itself, 2 Phalanx 4s is enough. And I say that is because it's based on the salvo. And the reload is pretty good too. Now, let's see. It doesn't have any anti-missile reload for the frontline counter system. So you're basically doing the rank reload. So reload time of 4 seconds and 4.47 seconds. I'm not exactly, I didn't count how many missiles they are, but so far these two haven't failed me yet. If you take on too many missiles, then yes, you'll need more than 2 Phalanx 4s, but I try and do the minimum amount of items I need. So, originally I was doing 2 Zelos because of the accuracy boost and that stuff, and it helped a lot having 2 Zelos, because that means I have 4 Phalanx 4s, lots of, I had this exact same build I had, except for on the other one. I had lots of Gales, 12 Gales in total, no problems with the rockets and that stuff, but I wasn't getting the damage input, the damage I was usually getting that I wanted to get. 3 dragons, is good, but I thought 4 dragons, I want to make it so that my fleet is ready for that flagship that will come. Who knows what the flagship is? Countermeasure flagship? Who knows? We could get another gridiron monolith, for all we know. That is completely, we're supposed to be for antis, but we don't know. So I already built 4 dragons, and I wanted to kind of focus on removing 1 Zelos and putting on another dragon. So that's what I did. I tried to modify one of my best Zelos right here, because it was already with the subcard propellant, and it was built to have, be the same speed, if not a little bit faster than the dragons. So that's why I changed 1 Zelos, so I can do this, so I can have it as 1 Zelos and then 4 dragons, and have the maximum damage output with, my fleet. So before with the 2 Zelos, I was doing these targets and I could shoot down everything, and it was just perfectly fine. I did try a couple times with the 1 Zelos and 4 dragons, and I was having a very hard time. 1 sprint isn't good enough, and in fact, on this build, I will switch over 1 Gale and put it on 2 sprints instead of 1. That's going to be one of my refits next week with when I get the Zelos token, so bear in mind with that. And so that's what I saw, that the Gales on this one was not enough, and then I didn't have enough sprints on it, so the frostbites were getting through, the cold stuff was getting through. It would take off the special ability of the Zelos, and one good thing about the special ability is it also adds splash, which I actually honestly forgot. That adds splash, so I mean 5% splash isn't that bad, that much, but it's better than nothing. And then the accuracy, it doesn't really matter. But in a sense, if you have any antis on your dragons, it does add accuracy to those antis, so it's even better, percent in a little bit. So that's what I was going for, and I tried it with one Zelos, and I took like 2 hours damage doing the whole 117. It was terrible. So I used all my dragon tokens, and I was thinking what would be the best thing to put on my dragons. And so I looked, and with the target, I saw 2 Phalanx 4s was just enough on my Zelos, and that should be all that you should need in these targets. Unless you bum rush it and you go in the middle and you go in the middle, you're gonna have multiple platforms shooting at you from the middle, and that's why I go around the target. Explain that later on my, whenever I go into the target and explain why I do this, things. So I saw that 2 Phalanx 4s were good enough to do, to take out all the missiles, so I wasn't going to do any anti-missiles on my dragons. One problem I did see was the sprints. So I thought, well, the sprints is something that I need, so let's fix it out. So I put one sprint on each Inferno Dragon to cover the frostbites. And so another problem I saw were the mortars. The mortars were still getting through. And I thought, well, maybe having one gale on them should be enough. But what helps both of these is I was thinking, well, I can put subaquatic propellant on the dragon. That increases the countermeasure reload, so I get more reload on this countermeasure, and I can take out more frostbites if I do. Like the 112 has a lot of frostbites, so that's a lot of rockets coming at you, and it does still shoot them all down. Don't take off, don't take more than what you can handle. Handle maybe 3 or 4 of them. Don't go rushing and all that stuff, because you can't counter all of them. I know that's true. I've seen it. So I opted to do the subaquatic propellant, and then it also has the increased projectile speed. So that actually boosts both of them. It boosts the gale because the mortars are so fast. It kind of helps the gales shoot, fire faster, or not fire faster, but the projectile hit, faster. And so that has a better, reaction time to actually hit the mortars. And not only that, since this is a rocket hull, using an explosive system 4 or combustion system 2, you add extra projectile speed. So it's not as fast as high velocity rounds, but you're still getting 43% plus 25%. So you're getting a decent amount of projectile speed. And so that actually kind of helps the gales and the sprints hit their targets. Now, I wanted as many rockets as I can. I was really hoping I didn't have to use antis on the Inferno Dragon, but obviously you don't have to. It is really disappointing that they only let you have 4 with the anti slots, so not much you can do on that. But that being the case, I added more rockets, so 6 rockets in total. I have noticed the recondite rocket actually does help. Not so much on the frostbites or the executioners. It does help against the mortars, because once I go into the middle, my recondite rockets do hit the mortars sometimes, the splash and that stuff, and it does reduce the reload effect of those. They don't shoot as fast, because I've noticed that they shoot pretty fast, very frequently whenever I enter the middle. But sometimes they don't shoot as fast or reload as fast to shoot at me. So that reduces the amount of chance that they can hit, shoot, and I might miss them with my anti-mortars, and so it'll still hit. So the reduction of reload is good. I would highly suggest maybe having one or two in the whole fleet, because the most damage output you can is a much better thing to do. I'm thinking about, I think I have one, okay, I have two dragons with the recondite rocket on, so that's not bad at all. I'll probably will keep it like that. And some of my dragons still need to be refitted with the gale, so that's even better. Yeah, okay, so I need to fix that. Some of them don't even have explosive system 4, so I'm still working with a not fully built fleet. So that leads me to my other things. I want to describe why I use specials for my dragons. So high yield warheads I always will use. I like it. Because of projectile speed. Oh, there's another projectile speed. Boom. That helps a lot more. I actually forgot about the high yield warheads having projectile speed. So that projectile speed even adds even more, to my gale, and it helps with the mortars, which is always a good thing. Splash is a really good thing in these targets. The walls, they reduce a lot of splash, and it's really hard to chew through if you don't have enough splash and that stuff. Uh, Building damage is really good on this one. Now, I've seen a lot of builds. I've been tweaking around in that stuff with the build, the damage building damage specials. I think it was siege targeting 4. That one's a high damage one, but honestly, I prefer the splash and the projectile speed. You're getting more bang for your buck, let's say, with this special, because it does help it helps my fleet, my build, because I use the gales and the sprints, so the splash is good too. Now I'm on the fence with this one. I've seen a lot better results with the reactive armor 3. Now, does that mean that it's perfect? No. If mortar does get through, it will hurt me pretty bad. And that's why I try my best to shoot down all the mortars. And I am successful most of the time. Granted, there's always that one or two mortars that can get through, and it's not perfect. But from what I've seen, the reactive armor 3, if you shoot down all the mortars, is the best bet for this. And if you shoot down all the rockets as well, because that does do explosive damage as well. So, that being said, if you can shoot down all the rockets, and if you shoot down all the mortars, then reactive armor 3. But you're always going to have that risk of getting hit by explosive and doing a moderate amount of damage to you. So that's always a problem. Now, if you want to be safe and sound, MX3, and I wouldn't, say that's wrong. That's the wrong thing, because if you want to be safe and sorry, that would be a good one, to use. Me, I'm taking the risk, and if I take the risk and I get hit by a mortar, oh well, it's my fault, because I have reactive armor 3. So, and I rely too heavily on the antis. So, just food for thought: reactive armor 3 or MX3. MX3 would be a safer option because you have more explosive. Because let's look at my defense on this sucker. See, 97% penetrative defense and then 85%. So yeah, that's why. Now to boost it up, I'm planning on doing 3 X's instead of 3 M's, because my explosive defense is low. I'll add another one, and it should boost it, hopefully quite a bit. I'm not exactly sure about the math in it, so I'll do 3 X's and 2 M's, just in case it does get hit by a mortar and that stuff. Not just for the damage pool, so that's what my plan I'm doing. So now I've seen a lot of things about this spread, splash, and that stuff. Personally, I would think the explosive system 4 is best in this sense. And the reason to it is because of the spread. Uh, sure, Combustion System 2 has a lot of more splash, I believe, if I remember correctly. But what is needed in these targets is negative spread. You don't want your rockets to be spread out, because the more spread, the more your rockets kind of go in a big, array. So that means your rockets are hitting all the walls instead of going narrow into the walls and going straight to the turrets. You're actually going to go spread all over the walls. So that's why I did the -20 spread, is so that I can funnel my rockets into the walls and not have to deal with killing all the walls and that stuff. So it goes straight to the turret. So, but 20% isn't really that much. So, well, I'm not sure. What's the spread? Yeah, see, that spread is 150, so that's a pretty big spread. And if you add more spread to that, then you're killing more walls than what you should, or you should do. So that's why I did that. And I stand by it. I see a lot of good stuff results with it. And then as I said earlier, the projectile speed, it helps the gales go through to the mortars. So and then I always liked Garrison Battery. There's multiple reasons. Now I know that Siege Battery 4 has more building damage, and it's still turret defense and all of this stuff, that stuff. Honestly, one of the reasons I did it was because of the weight. Now, Siege Battery, a lot of people don't know this, but Siege Battery deals with total weight. So that's the total weight of your weapons, total weight of your armor, and all that stuff. So it adds all that stuff together, and that's the weight. Now, the Garrison Battery this is why I see it as better. It's because it deals with weapon weight. So it doesn't do anything about the armor weight. You could have Reaver bulkhead on this thing, and it wouldn't deal with anything there. Whereas if you were using Siege Battery 4, it actually adds this Reaver bulkhead to the total weight and that stuff. So that's the reason why I think Garrison Battery is better ultimately, unless you have otherwise. And also the explosive damage is really good. I think I've looked at Huggies, and sometimes Huggies is kind of slightly wrong, but still, I do love Huggies build a lot. And from what I see, the Garrison Battery damage is better than the Siege Battery 4. So, but it's only by a slight margin. So, not too bad. Now, I've seen a lot of people put reloading, what's it called? Warhead reloader or something like that, on these things. It's not needed. No reloading is needed on this. Simple fact, you put RFX engine on it, it does explosive reload and its engines. You're dealing with two specials that you don't need to deal with. Put two in two special slots. Put them together, the max reload on the Dragon, and I think it's even better. If your Dragon is legendary rank, you have the RFX engine. The rockets shoot within it's like 0.48, 0.44, and that's the reload of the Twinfire rockets. And that's just without any reload special. It's just this. So no reload special is needed with these rockets, and the only type of reload I would put on this is if you do countermeasure loader 4 or 3, because that actually helps your Gale shoot and that stuff. And that's the only type of reload I would put on it. But other than that, I'd stick with the RFX engine. Use your specials better so that you can do better. I could understand the the propellant, put it on the countermeasure loader 4. I haven't tested it out myself. I want to do the countermeasure reload for this one, and that's what I was aiming for. And so far, it's been working for me. If I get more tokens, I actually might try it and see which is better. It's always up for debate. So that's my build, and that's what I'm going to stick with. One more X armor, and that's pretty much it. 2 dragons, I would say, with the recondite rockets. Other than that, all the twin fire rockets. So that's my spill on this. On the Inferno Dragon. Let's see what else. Now, since I haven't done that much on the armor on the Zelos as well, I want to go back to armor on this. Uh, I haven't done much on this because the Zelos doesn't really get hurt that much. Because I mean, it doesn't. If it gets hurt, it won't get hurt that much because it's always in the back. Now, granted, it does get hit by. If it does get hit by mortars, it will hurt. But the likelihood of that happening is slim. It depends on if you actually have gales on your Inferno Dragon, and I think I only have 2 of them that don't even have gales, so it's going low. So that's why I do. Currently I have just 2 armors on it, so it's not too half bad. Now the cruise. The cruise is one thing that I'd like to discuss and why I use cruise. So you could use Molotov mains for the spot and spread of rockets. That's always a good thing to use. I think I've tried Deadeye destroyers once. It's actually not too bad. Just as the critical hits. Now I wouldn't do sea serpents because the only thing you'll get out of this is turn speed. A lot of the damage and the targets is splash. So evade isn't anything you need. The only evade that you'll use in the targets is against the mastodons. If you trigger the mastodons, that's the only evade you'll see in the battle, unless you don't counter the executioners. And if you don't counter the executioners, then they'll it's based on evade. But I highly recommend counter the executioners because the damage is tremendous with that. No lucky bastards. You're not going to be lucky with that. I could understand a Hellfire Heathens. The rockets will do good in the splash, so that I could see that. So that would be good. What I personally use is mortar heads because of the mortars. The mortars that we have to counter. Does good with the monoliths though. That's one thing. Now, since you don't have mortars in the fleet, so you're not going to get the critical hits with mortars, sadly. But you will get the 30% anti-mortar range, so that's always good. That means with the projectile speed you have in these on this fleet, that means there's more likelihood of you shooting down the mortars fast. So Midnight Marauders, I haven't delved too much lately with this because it does mess with your damage. It depends on your damage. There's a lot of variables in it, so eventually you'll have one ship going faster than the other ship, and it's a total mess. I personally wouldn't deal with it. Creeping Death, it would be good because of the building damage. The base attack duration, it doesn't matter, honestly. So, other than that, I believe that should be it. I mean, if you want to, go ahead and do some 3-star cruise, and you want to deal with that. You're lagging bad today. So yeah, demo squad would do really good in these. Hey, you actually have one of these. Okay. So that's what I would do is the mortar head personally. So. But other than that, that's my build, that's my fleet, and why I use what I use. And hopefully, this helps people know what to build in these targets, know what to use in these targets. Hopefully, you'll be able to hopefully build better than me, because that's all I want is get more feedback, get what y'all use, get what other people use. and see how it goes, because I've seen some people do the targets and they're not fully built. Their dragons aren't fully built. Not as built as much built as me, but there's a little bit lower built than mine, and they're still doing the targets for like 30, 2 hours damage. And I see it, and I see it's not about their build. I see as someone in my alliance, he was shooting down all the mortars without Zelos, or not all the mortars, but majority of the mortars without Zelos. And so I was wanting to know his build and what he used, and I probably would bet it's something to do, like a countermeasure special. Maybe having, instead of garrison battery, having frontline countermeasure system on one dragon and having that as majority of counters. I don't know. It's always, and, it's all up in the air, so who knows? But still, there's always different types of builds out there that could be even better. So it's always good to dabble, uh, get input on other people, and see about your how you do it. Always think about why you do this stuff. Don't just slap things on and be like, oh, this is why. Because I'm, like I said with the reload, a lot of people put as much reload as they can on this, and it doesn't do any good. It won't. There was one that had, I forgot what was the special. It was a special on, let me see. Come on, I still have this. It's slow right now. Let me see. I forgot is warhead, something warhead, cluster warheads. I remember. There's cluster warheads that they had on it, and it just mind-boggling. Why? I mean, yeah, it's good reload, but you don't need 210% reload, because if you're using this, I mean, 50% reload with the new rocket and max rank is good enough to make it more, zero point 0.4 seconds, and that's so close to zero point 0.2 seconds, which is the lowest amount. So 260% rocket reload is not needed. So you're wasting a special right there. You're wasting what could be projectile speed, what could be a countermeasure special, more damage. You're wasting a lot, and then the weapon weight. It adds a lot of weapon weight. So if you're, looking at problems with weapon weight, or weight of the ship, that'll add a lot of problems. So using the warhead reloader, uh, it's not needed. 75% rocket reload. That's good and all. I mean, it's fine and dandy, but honestly, it's not needed getting that much reload. You're losing a lot of potential. Sure, you get 25% more damage. Now, I know that there was a problem with this. I think it wasn't stacking right. I don't know. I'm building one right now, so uh, I think there was a stacking problem earlier with these builds, and it wouldn't let people build it. So, beside the point, uh, this isn't that much reload isn't needed. You're wasting reload. You're wasting specials for this. Sure, you'll get 25% more explosive damage, but you could get that much damage using something else. First say just put on. Let's see. If you really want that damage boost, just put on explosive damage. Yeah, it's not as much, but there's always better options than that. Just don't stick to this stuff. Always be mindful at what you can do and what you can't do. So, uh, so there's a lot of stuff that won't stack with the warhead reload as well. So I don't think it stacks with this one. I know it wasn't stacking for me, so that's why I didn't use it. But that being said, that's my build. I'll put the build in Huggies, and I'll put in the description. So it's going to be exactly my build. Even better because I'll actually have it fully built. I'll put the X armors on it, so that it can be full. And hopefully I do kind of want to see the defense with the X armor, so that'd be good to have. And I'll actually see if I could fit how much armors I could fit on the Zelos, because I'm not exactly too sure. I'll also change it so that I have 2 sprints on it, so in the Huggy. So as a reference, y'all can use it to help yourselves see it, and maybe learn from it. Maybe do a little modifying it on your side, so that you can do these targets hopefully easy, because and these aren't for sure builds. Surely you can copy this exactly, and it's all fine and dandy copied, but it's also about implementing the driving, because these things you have to drive in a certain way. You have to drive it perfectly, and not just perfectly, and there's a lot of people that need help with driving. They can't drive as well. I personally don't know that much about the macro system, but there's a lot of things that can aid you driving. I recently showed someone Shane Walker. He's not as good a driver as me, so I thought, what can help? Macros can help, and I haven't used the macro in a few months. I did in the beginning, but since then I kind of got lazy with the semi-auto monolith build, and I don't drive at all in the 115s, 111s, except for 3 spots I drive, and woo, I don't need a macro for that. Pure laziness is what I say that is. But but that's beside the point. There's a lot of people that doesn't have the reflexes of my driving skills, don't have the patience or time, and all the keys and that stuff. It's really hard to do the little keys. You might do a problem whenever if you miss a key, then you might get screwed. So I showed him my macro settings, and I don't know that much about macros, so I just tried to help him with that. And then I remembered that the Forsaken Council has a really good macro guide, and that's actually where I first started, and looked and started. And recently, when I went back to give Shane the Shane the macros for the website, I looked and it's actually added more to it, and it's a lot better than what I remembered. So the Forsaken Council does have a really good macro list. They actually explain all this stuff a lot better than what I can. I can't do shit. So I will also post the link to the macros in the description if y'all really need it. If y'all don't want to drive, with the arrow keys or the number pad or that stuff, I highly suggest using that and figuring out what you can do. If and I've seen a lot of people, they only have 4 dragons. You don't need a macro for 4 dragons. You don't. So that one is just select all and then move, and then down, up and down, down and then move and that stuff. It's really simple with that with 4 dragons. But since mine is a special build, because you have to have the Zelos in my build, and it has to be driven a certain way, then you do either need really good driving skills or the macro. And so I'll post the link to the Forsaken Council's macro page there, and I'll let y'all figure that out yourselves, because there's no way in hell that I could figure that out. I haven't been doing it in years, not years, months. So hopefully that can help y'all. It certainly helped Shane. So kudos to you, Shane. Good job. Glad you could do it. Something that I can't do. So, other than that, that's my spill on why I built my ship like this, my fleet like this, and hopefully in the future when they release the flagship, I could just take out the Zelos and just run the flagship. That's why I'm planning for, hoping to do. If not, then I can do an easy workaround with my build. So other than that, I hope this helps you pirates, because uh, doing all these tests, hard work, agony of repairing, agony of driving. I did it all for y'all and me, so I can hopefully do these targets for a lot better. Because I've seen a lot of the problem, a lot of the people complaining about it, and it seems like a lot of the player base does need help in some form or fashion. And hopefully this is one of the solutions for y'all. There's a lot of good other builds out there. George has a good build. I've seen his videos, and I actually like his build, and I see it doing good. Ren also has a good one. I've seen him do some of the targets, and I like his build too. It's always just it's based on personally what you want to do, how you want to do your targets and that stuff. So, and I wanted to try and do maximum firepower with the 6 rockets and just 2 countermeasures. But I fear in the future that it will have to be changed. That's why I fear, and that I'll either have to do 3. At the most, I want to just do 3 countermeasures on a dragon, and save 5 rockets. That's what I want to do, and hopefully it doesn't go more than that. But I sense it's going to go downhill soon. So, but other than that, I'll post the build and Huggies, post the macro down, both of them down in the description, and hope this video helps y'all pirates. So until next time, just keep on sailing seas, and do good in FM.